Today I will show you a transformation I did of one of my acrylic paintings. I am Guri Hege, I'm an artist. I don't have any hands, but I love to paint and draw with my hand prosthetics. As I mentioned, I will show you a transformation I did because I had an old painting I wasn't really happy with, so I decided to change it. So why not? The first thing I did was actually to just use soap and water and to rub it. And surprisingly enough, most of my black paint actually disappeared. So that makes the starting of this video even worse than it was. So it looks really dull, but you can imagine. It doesn't matter because we're painting over most of it anyway. So I will just have to mention that if you have an oil painting, you cannot cover it with acrylics. Then you need to use oil to cover the painting as well. But if you have an acrylic painting, you can cover it with acrylics. You can also cover it with oil because oil is king. You can cover everything with oil. So I think we will just dive in and see how it goes. So here is the mess that I will be covering. What I'm doing now, I'm using charcoal to just divide this painting into 16 squares. This is a square painting, so I will also be using squares that are the same sizes in both directions. And inside each square, I'm making a circle. I'm just doing it by hand, and I don't care if it's a little smaller somewhere, a little bigger somewhere, it doesn't matter. You will understand later why it's like that. As you see, I'm using prosthetics, so it's really hard to use charcoal without breaking it. And I'm doing it several times, so that's how it goes. What I'm next doing is that I'm using white paint to paint around the circles. So inside each circle, you will see the original painting. But even if it was really dull from the beginning, it now looks actually more interesting when you can see it inside each of these circles. It's almost like a little abstract painting within each one of them. As you might have seen, it was one of the squares that I didn't draw a circle in, and that was where I had this head of this figure I had from before. And I'm also now planning to use some collage just at that point. So that's why I'm just making one of them without anything within the inside. I could do the same thing, but it doesn't matter. I don't have to make a circle because I'm going to cover it anyway with some collage. Just turn it around so it makes it easier for me to cover it. As you can see, the white paint doesn't cover really well, so some of the white doesn't. Even if this is titanium white, it's still not perfect, so I might have to go over it a few times. It's not that it has to be really white, but I don't want it to look dirty or anything like that. So here is the collage that I will be using. It's actually a cutout from one of my own cards. Actually a drawing I made, and then I made cards out of it, and this is just a card that I've cut out. So I'm using matte medium to glue it down both under the painting and over. It's important to use enough medium as it was really thick postcard, so I'm using enough of the medium. It looks really white, but when it dries clear. So you see it's now looking completely fine. And I've started to just draw around the circles with a red marker. It's just an ordinary acrylic marker. You can use every type, whatever you have. Just try and see what works for you. So I'm just doing a lot of different colors on these acrylic markers. Now I'm having a yellow circle around it, and now I'm going over to a blue. So just continue and make a lot of circles with a lot of different markers if you have. And as you can see, a lot of the circles are not really round, but I think that makes the whole thing much more alive than if it was perfectly rounded circles. So just do whatever you like to do. Now I'm using a thinner marker. It's almost like you cannot see it. It also might be that I'm using like more pens, and also maybe pencils is possible to use. So just take whatever you have and try to draw around it with that. And now you probably also understand why it wasn't important to make the circles perfect when I started in the beginning to draw them with charcoal and then to cover it or around it with white paint. Because I'm covering all the edges anyway with a lot of different markers, a lot of different sizes markers and in different colors, and I'm just going around and around and around. As you see, it takes quite a long time. I'm using quite many of them, but I think it's actually quite fun. And now in the end, I'm also finding my oil pastels, and those have a lot of thicker lines. I'm not trying to cover all of the thin lines with it, but I think the oil pastels makes it even more fun. What you can think about is that whatever you try to draw on top of the oil pastels will probably not be there, because the oil pastels are quite fat and slippery, and oil is king, as I probably mentioned before, so you cannot easily cover the oil pastels with anything. But I think it makes the whole thing much more alive. And now I'm also using a white acrylic marker just to get some white colors or some lighter colors inside the circle. Not on top of the oil pastels, but with inside of it, just to have the little contrast there. I think that's also makes it more alive. When you have a lot of different colors and you have a lot of different markers, different sizes of the markers, that makes the whole thing even looking better. So I recommend that you have a lot of different stuff. Now I take a brush and I go over on the white that I wasn't happy with, because it was a lot of the white spots that I wanted to fix. So just to have a little more white and I have a little better contrast, because it's really kind of a lot of different lines around the circles and then clean white around it. I think that makes it even better looking. So this is actually the final result, and it actually sold quite quickly. So that was fun. And this is just some mock-up, so you can see how it can be looking at your wall if you try to do something similar to this.